This is the story of Final Fantasy XIV, Stormblood, Part 2 of 4. Now, where we left off, the Scions are in Kugane looking for their friends Gosetsu and Yugiri, but a strange talking fish named Gyodo approached them and said he can help them. Let's get started.
He's late.
Endless and most sincere apologies to you and yours, yes. This way, quickly now.
Gyodo takes them near an empty pier, then says he doesn't have a ship.
To me, these ones are for Doma.
I knew it couldn't be this simple.
Ah!
Come on, let's find a way out of here.
The heroes fight through several Imperial Centurions, which attracts the attention of the Kugane authorities. Lyse hands out smoke bombs and they sneak past the guards. As they approach the Ruby Bazaar, they find too many guards in the area, but a Kogin man beckons them to follow him. He takes them to where the twins are hiding.
Stay hidden and quiet. Understood?
The guards approach and ask about the heroes, and the Kogin gives them a false lead.
Come with me. I know a safer way.
You are returned. And with guests, I see.
They explain that this Kogin named Soroban helped them get past the guards. Alphino turns to Soroban and asks why he chose to help them.
Why, out of the kindness of my heart, is what I would like to say, but my motives are not so pure.
He explains that the red Kogin work for the Empire and the blue Kogin, which is what he is, do not. He seeks to do business in Kugane, but says most people don't distinguish between different Kogin tribes and refuse to work with him.
So I seek the custom of those less predisposed to dismiss us outright, namely the East Aldenard Trading Company.
We would be honored to hear your proposal.
I promise you will not regret this, good sir.
He then tells the heroes he can take them across the Ruby Sea, and Alphino is pleased. Next, Lyse turns her attention to Gyodo, demanding he tell everything he knows about Gosetsu and Yugiri. He confesses that he met Gosetsu and lured him into the same trap. Gosetsu then took down many Imperials and then was captured by the city guards. Hancock offers to pay for his release, so the hero heads to the barracks with him. The heroes wait outside the barracks while Hancock speaks with the guards.
How about you?
That was Gosetsu. I'm sure of it. He's in trouble.
Victory to the samurai!
How many is that now? 10 in a row!
Gosetsu!
He's excited and shocked to see them, then explains that while in captivity he made a deal with the guards where he could be set free if he beat them 10 times in combat.
And with that, I'm free to go, yes?
Our word once given may not be broken, but we pray you make every effort to avoid future altercations.
Hancock returns and sees his assistance is no longer needed, and they leave together. Back at the Ruby Bazaar, Gosetsu sees Gyodo and demands his money back. Gyodo says he no longer has it, but Alphino then asks about Yugiri. He says he and Yugiri separated to try and find Lord Hien. Lord Hien is the heir to the Doman throne and their master. When Zenos crushed the rebellion, Lord Hien and Gosetsu stayed to fight so that Yugiri could escape and lead the Domans to safety by sea to Eorzea. Since then, Gosetsu's been separated from Lord Hien and has been looking for him. He then says the new viceroy, Yotsuyu, is cruel and delights in tormenting Domans. Alphino says they are here to aid the Doman Liberation Front, and Gosetsu enthusiastically says he will lead them to their headquarters in Yanxia. Lyse convinces Alphino to stay behind and gather intel while the others depart to meet with Soroban. Soroban takes them to the Ruby Sea, and the heroes gaze upon the horizon. He introduces the heroes to Tansui of the Confederacy and even offers to pay the ruby tithe for them, but Tansui says the price has tripled, and before he says much else, one of his men pulls him away urgently. The heroes watch from a distance to see what the fuss is about.
I realize you do not look kindly on the Confederacy and her ways, but if you refuse to pay the ruby tithe, Your safety in these waters cannot be assured.
You remain at large because we allow it. Because you are such insignificant little pests that we see no need to swat you. But if you wish to risk the ire of the Viceroy, by all means, fire upon an Imperial vessel. Give us a reason to bring the full might of the Garlean Empire to bear against your pathetic fleet.
Tensui tries to reason with him, but the Imperials dismiss him and continue on their path.
If we take any action to hinder the safe passage of an Imperial vessel, she'll accuse us of attempting to foment rebellion and brand us enemies of the Empire, which we can ill afford to be.
I don't understand. If the Garleans are causing the Confederacy this much trouble, and if so many of you are Doman to begin with, why aren't you willing to fight back?
He says their small fleet would be hopeless against the Garleans, and he mentions that the new Viceroy is holding court at a nearby village as they speak. He says he considers the heroes' tithe paid, and he leaves. Soroban takes them across the sea and says his goodbyes. The heroes approach the small village of Isari, watching as the Garleans torment the Doman people.
It is she, sworn enemy of Doma, of my master. The traitor who sold her homeland to the Garleans. Yotsuyu.
Come now. You've no reason to look so afraid. You have lived through a quarter of a century of Garlean rule, remember? A resident of your village, one of your neighbors, mayhap your friend, was detained by the Kojin this morning. They say he was attempting to flee to Kugane, but we both know that simply isn't true, don't we? Have you anything to say?
The man goes silent, and she demands that someone answer.
My lady, I swear to serve the Empire, to do whatever is asked of me, and never disobey.
Kill him. Surely you can do that much.
I have a family. Kami, forgive me. Kami, forgive me.
Oh, very, very good. I've always had a soft spot for men like you.
She then demands he kill his own parents, but he refuses. The heroes are ready to help, but they realize it would only make things worse.
If we act recklessly, we risk alerting the Garleans to our presence here, making it that much harder for us to work with the local rebels. To say nothing of the reprisals ordinary civilians would be made to suffer.
Gosetsu goes alone to intervene, as to not alert the enemies of the Scions' presence.
A great tower stands to the north and east. Look to its occupants for aid and succor. Together, you may yet find your miracle. Now, leave this place. I must go. Hear me, Yotsuyu! Cease this farce, here and now! And I shall surrender myself to you. Refuse, and all shall answer to my blade.
Bring him to the tavern.
Heeding Gosetsu's advice, the heroes head to the strange tower. On the way, they find a Confederate settlement and meet their leader, Rasho. The hero explains that Gosetsu bade them seek help for Isari from the Confederacy, but they reply that they are bound to never ally with anyone, not even in defense of Doma against Garlemald. After the meeting, the heroes split up and ask around the settlement to gather info about the Confederacy. They join up and agree that the Confederates are struggling and might help their cause under the right circumstances. Next, the hero helps the locals with various needs, such as finding a missing recruit and giving medicine to seasick pirates. Along the way, the heroes learn that Red Kojin mercenaries are rounding up Confederates for the Empire. They take this information straight to Tensui, but he's suspicious of the heroes since he thinks they're just trying to convince the Confederates to join the rebellion.
They had no part in it, Tensui. You know this. We all know this. They came and took our Doman brothers. They will torture them for her sport. Murder them for her satisfaction.
But Rancho still doesn't think the time is right for rebellion.
Until the day our enemy is grown weaker and we stronger, there can be no retribution. We will wait for a sign. Such is the judgment of the Confederacy.
If it's a sign you want, we shall give you one. One rousing enough to make you drive every Garlean out of Isari without a second thought.
She says they plan to liberate Doma itself, and to demonstrate their dedication they will start by depriving Garlemald of their Red Kojin mercenaries. Then she offers a deal.
If we succeed, you help us liberate Isari. If we fail, you lose nothing. A simple enough wager, if you have the stones for it.
Words are air. We will weigh you by your deeds.
He then says the Blue Kojin are not allied with Garlemald and may be willing to help, and that they can be found in a cave nearby.
Is that light I see up ahead? We appear to be standing inside a giant bubble. By the 12. I think we're on the seabed.
Soroban approaches and greets the heroes warmly, saying this is his home.
I bid you welcome to Tamamizu.
Soroban introduces the heroes to the leader of the Blue Kojin.
Welcome, guests. Gratitude to you for aiding Soroban in his negotiations.
The hero explains their plan with the Red Kojin, and Bunchin, the leader, says that the Red Kojin joined with the Garleans because of their might and they thought it wise. But the Garleans ban all religion, so the Red Kojin hide their faith from the Empire.
To honor the divine, they deny it. A twisted and misguided path.
The Red have become warlike, unlike the Blue, but the Blue are always blamed for the Red's misdeeds, so Bunchin is willing to help. He knows a secret that will help them, but says first Soroban has a task for them to earn their trust. Soroban says a valuable treasure of theirs was lost, and he'd like them to find it. It's on the ocean floor, but he says he will enable them to breathe underwater with an enchantment.
Receive of us our meager offerings, cleanse these ones of earth and stone, and grant them your blessing, that they might drink deep of the divine. The ritual is complete, my friends. You may now breathe in the depths as you would upon land.
Incredible. I could swear I was breathing air.
Soroban provides them with underwater mounts and suggests they find the underwater village of Sui no Satu. The heroes find Sui no Satu and speak with an Ara man named Shiosai. He repeatedly tells the heroes to leave, explaining that his people seek only tranquil isolation apart from the wars above, so they walk away. Meanwhile, in Isari village,
Before you die, you will cry and beg and prostrate yourself upon the earth.
she torments him for a while, then asks about his master.
So tell me, what became of Lord Hien?
He refuses to answer, so she orders Grenawat to continue beating him. Back in Sui no Sato, the heroes are approached by an elder couple that turns out to be Yugiri's parents. They explain that she learned of Doma and Garlemald as a little girl and has been invested in their plight ever since, believing that they would one day come for her village. But since she has gotten involved in world affairs, she's now banned from her village. They offer to help the heroes, and so the father explains that the treasure they seek looks like common jade, but will sparkle under a certain kind of light. He gives the hero a special lamp and tells him the location of a nearby shipwreck to check. The hero searches around the shipwreck using the special lamp, and sure enough, he finds a sparkling object after a few minutes. The heroes go straight to Bunchin and deliver the treasure. As promised, he agrees to help them against the Red Kojin. He hands them a ceremonial dagger that opens a vault on the Isle of Zeki. They value it above all else, he says, and that if the heroes were to attack the vault, all the Red Kojin would be summoned to defend it, which would give the Confederacy the sign they're waiting for. Bunchin tells them they must leave the treasure they found earlier in the vault while they're there to appease the gods. The heroes leave for the Isle of Zeki. As they approach the vault, they are surrounded by large numbers of Red Kojin.
Thieves! Thieves! Come to steal our most precious treasures! You will pay for this sacrilege!
But the treasure they possess completes a set of 3 sacred treasures, and something stirs.
Who hath made us whole?
Hark! A great kami stirs. Yes, yes, a great kami of the sacred treasures.
We are Susano, and in revelry do we rejoice.
That's a primal standing in front of us, right?
Lyse and Lyse turn to fight the Red Kogin, while the hero turns toward the primal. At the Pool of Tribute, the hero confronts and defeats Susano, the Lord of the Revel. Meanwhile nearby, Soroban approaches the Confederacy. He tells them that the Kogin vault is under attack and all the Red Kogin have abandoned their posts to defend the vault.
I'll be damned they did it.
Tensui turns to Rasho and asks what his decision is.
Isari may be a rotting husk, but at least the tavern keeper never watered down his drinks.
The Confederates don masks of war.
Hear me, comrades! We made a bargain with the Eorzeans, and I mean to uphold our end of it. I mean to remind the Garleans that this is our sea, that all here belongs to the Confederacy.
Meanwhile, at the Isari Tavern, just as Yotsuyu is threatening to kill villagers, there is a commotion outside.
Confederate scum! You will pay for that!
Confederacy. They've come to save us!
Back at the Isle of Zeki, red smoke catches Lyse's eye.
Speak of the devils, that's coming from Isari.
I think we've done all we can here. Let's withdraw and make for the village.
Returning to Isari village, the heroes find no Imperial soldiers, but armed Confederates.
Gosetsu! You're alive. You're all alive.
The fighting cannot have lasted long. Where are all the Imperials?
Fled. They stood their ground for a time, until it became clear that their Kogin reinforcements would not be coming.
The hero says they plan to go to Yanxia and liberate Doma next, and Rasho warns them to be careful with who they trust. They thank each other mutually for their deeds and part ways. Meanwhile, Yotsuyu confronts the Red Kogin.
So, this is why you abandoned your posts. And without a word of explanation at that. Rather thoughtless of you, was it not?
Lady Yotsuyu, pray forgive us our absence, but our home was under attack, our vaults plundered by outsiders.
It is my solemn charge to bring these vermin to heel. To torment them, body and soul, until all they hold dear is as bitter ashes in their mouths. And then you go and ruin everything!
Yotsuyu takes a valuable sword from the treasure pile and they leave. The heroes arrive in Yanxia.
Before us stood yet another wall, and through a great Magitech field we glimpsed Doma Castle. I'll never forget the sight, or the anger I felt that day.
From a distance, they look upon the village of Namai.
We may be in luck. I don't see a single Imperial soldier.
Then there is no need to remain hidden. Let us go and greet them as friends.
Gosetsu announces his presence to the villagers, and they all cower in fear before him, which leaves him puzzled.
What should we do? If they catch him here, you know what will happen.
Has the old fool lost his mind? You! But why have you come here? What do you want from us?
The youth pulls the heroes aside as other villagers are sobbing. He says they're terrified of what the Empire will do to them if they found out that Gosetsu, leader of the rebellion, was sighted in their village. He says the Empire has killed and tortured so many of them, and they will have no part in an uprising, and they demand that the heroes leave. Gosetsu then leads the heroes outside the village and to the secret hideout of the Doman Liberation Front, only accessible through an underwater cave.
This is the House of the Fears, but there are so few of them.
Many kindred spirits remain in hiding following the rebellion. Many others gave their lives for their nation. We are the stubborn remainder.
Yugiri! Gods, it's good to see you. You look great, by the way. Have you been here long?
I returned but recently, having concluded my mission. Oh, it is good to see you again, my friends.
The heroes update her on Eorzean news and their journey, then Yugiri gives news on Lord Hien himself. She says he was grievously wounded during the rebellion and missing until recently.
For I have found Lord Hien, seen and spoken with him, on the Azim steppe. You may take comfort in the knowledge that he is hale and whole. However, when I invited him to return with me to Doma, he had this to say. If Doma yet thirsts for the blood of patriots and tyrants, I shall offer unto her my blade. But if she has had her fill of bitter draughts, I shall offer unto her conquerors my head. Thrice did I declare to him that no true son or daughter of Doma would ever accept such a sacrifice. But for all my passion, he would not be swayed. Learn the truth of her heart and return to me, he said. And so I left him.
The heroes take a break for a time and get to know the Liberation Front soldiers. One tells a story of Zenos effortlessly killing warrior after warrior while utterly bored. He says Zenos craves hatred. He wants someone to be filled with hatred for him and face him presenting an actual challenge to his might. A moment later, Yugiri suggests that the hero, Lyse, and herself go among the Domans and witness their lives, as none of them are recognizable in the area like Gosetsu is. They speak to many of the villagers and find their spirits broken, most having no desire to oppose the Empire anymore. Wandering the lands outside the village, the hero helps a child obtain flowers for her parents' graves, but her older brother approaches, and it's the same youth who asked the heroes to leave earlier. He says the Imperials forced them to denounce their parents and say they deserve to die as they beat them in the streets. He then tells the hero again to stay away from them. Back at the village, the heroes hide and watch as Imperials approach. They say that the Viceroy was attacked by Confederates in Isari village, and they're here to conscript soldiers for the Empire.
And lastly, you. That should suffice for now.
They leave with several new recruits, including the youth the hero spoke with earlier, named Issa.
There's no telling what might happen to those people. We have to help them.
I will track these men. Will you help me?
Lyse runs back to the headquarters to inform the resistance. With lace darts and a blowgun, the hero and Yugiri put many of the Imperial guards to sleep along the way to a nearby Imperial fort. Just outside the fort, Yugiri and the hero watch the Imperials escorting the captured Domans and realize if they don't act fast, it will be too late. Yugiri scouts ahead and takes out a few soldiers. The hero puts on their clothes to disguise himself as an Imperial. They infiltrate the fort and find where the Domans are being held.
Listen to me, all of you. We have dealt with the Imperials for now, but you must flee this place quickly.
Dealt with them? Oh no. You didn't kill them, did you?
They refuse to escape, but Yugiri says they will die under Garlemald.
Even if you lack the will to fight, surely you have the will to live! Or has that, too, been beaten out of you? Is this what has become of Doma?
We hate this! All of this! But we can't do a damn thing to change it! And trying will only make it worse!
How are we to lift our heads when this shame weighs so heavily upon us? Your courage, your resolve, they are as salt in our wounds.
My lord, prays you value your life as highly as he does. As for me, I swear by all the Kami in creation that I will free you from this torment, no matter the cost.
If the Imperials come for me, I will tell them we were tricked by an Ori woman.
They reluctantly run back home. The hero restores the sleeping soldiers to their posts, as Yugiri administers a medicine that will induce temporary confusion when they awaken. They opt not to kill any soldiers in order to protect the villagers. A moment later outside the fort, the hero tells Yugiri that he met her parents.
They are in good health then. The knowledge is of great comfort to me.
She describes how she came to know Hien and Gosetsu and to put all her trust in their cause.
Never did I lose faith in them. Even when all was lost and I led our people to Eorzea, I clung to the belief that our dream would one day be realized. But when I gazed into those eyes bereft of hope, when those broken men balked at liberty, the dream was shattered.
Just then, they spot something in the sky.
An Imperial airship.
They quickly return to the House of the Fierce. Back at the House of the Fierce, Yugiri explains that they freed the villagers and asks Gosetsu if they know anything about the Imperial airship.
Aye, that we do. The Crown Prince is come to Doma.
If Zenos is here, we must seize this opportunity and kill him.
Lyse tells Yugiri that it's not that easy.
He faced the Alliance, the Resistance, and the Scions, and he defeated us all.
Even should you succeed, Zenos' death will not win Doma her freedom. More likely, her doom. Can we defend our people against the Empire's retribution? We few against a legion? Do not be a fool, child!
Yugiri storms off in anger. The hero tracks her down later, and she says this is the best chance they're going to get to take out Zenos, as he came in a hurry and doesn't have his full escort. The hero agrees to it. As they leave, it turns out the young villager Issa overheard everything and is torn over what to do with this information. The hero and Yugiri wait on a rooftop near the path where Zenos is expected to pass soon.
He comes.
We labored long to sow the seeds of hatred, of fear, to train them as beasts. Now we shall see the harvest. Let there be savage beasts baying for blood, and not hollow-eyed prey cowering in the dark, or there will be no joy in this hunt.
Shinobi? And me without my brute. For Lord Kayed! For Doma!
The hero faces Zenos in combat once again alongside Yugiri. Once again, he is unable to defeat him.
Ah, I remember you. Al Amigo, the champion of the savages.
He takes off his helmet as an arrow strikes.
Get away from them, you Imperial dog! We're not going anywhere, do you hear me? We're not running away!
Lyse and Gosetsu arrive to join the fight. Inexplicably, Zenos smiles and walks away.
My lord?
They return to Namai village, where Yugiri is recovering.
If there is anything else we can do for the two of you, anything at all, just ask.
Gosetsu, Mistress Lyse, I owe you an apology. I acted with reckless disregard for my own safety, and endangered I know not how many others in so doing.
On the other hand, your recklessness did serve as an inspiration to many. Mayhap you should not be so hard on yourself.
Lyse and Alphino approach, and they discuss next steps.
While in Kugane, we debated a number of approaches, and were eventually forced to concede that we cannot look to the Alliance for aid.
He says the intelligence gained from Hancock suggests that most of the Empire's forces have left Doma, and now is the time to take it back.
Then we must needs meet with Lord Hien and convince him to return, for there is no surer way to inspire our people to rise up as one.
The heroes agree it's time to travel to the Azim Steppe and find Lord Hien. Meanwhile in Doma Castle,
Do you understand why I appointed you to act in my stead? You, whose only accomplishment was to whisper the right words in the right ear. Because of your petty hatreds. They render you the perfect instrument to bleed your kinsmen of hope. To make an example of Doma, such as was ordered. Listen well. If you yield Doma to the rebels, you will not be given another chance to beg forgiveness. Do your duty, now. Or die with the rest of them.
When Zenos leaves, Yotsuyu tells Grenawat she wants the Warrior of Light killed.
You mean I can finally go after him?
Meanwhile in Garabania, Estinian stares into a giant pit and says this is the work of the eyes and he must end it. And part 2 ends there. If you want to see what happens next, check out the video for Stormblood part 3. See you next time.